Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Flash Tutorials with Alan Becker. So today we are talking about fluid animation. So yeah, this is a tutorial on how to make things look very lifelike, fluid, and non-robotic. So this is a lesson on inbetweening, and to start, I will show you the difference between no eases and with eases. So if I look at this ball moving from left to right, it is very unrealistic because nothing accelerates and stops that fast. If it were to do that, realistically it would have some kind of an ease. As you can see in this animation, which is slightly more realistic because it starts out slow and ends quickly. So if we look at the in-betweens, this one goes from this frame to this frame to this frame to this frame to this frame, whereas this one goes basically equal distances in between. So the bottom one is more realistic because it starts slow, gets fast, slows down at the end. So we can apply this to our in-betweening of our animations. So if we take, for example, this animation, okay, let me turn this off. So right now this looks very not realistic because it's just three frames. If we in-between it, just basically going in between the frames, then it looks like this. But this looks almost just as unrealistic because it's just like that. So if we did something different, where we took the in-between of this, if we took the in-between of this and this, but had it start out a little bit slower, for example, like in this, where we have it go from here to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, then it looks like this. And now all of a sudden, it looks extremely realistic, because we have just a slight movement to begin with. So let me demonstrate how to do that. Obviously all you do is just take the beginning frame, set a new keyframe, pressing F6, move it, holding shift and then the arrow keys, like that, maybe even less than that, and then going to the next one, or the last one, and then duplicating this frame by dragging from here to here, and then just using the arrow keys and moving it back a little bit. And then we get instantly more realistic than what we had before. So we can apply this to anything, and I will show you how we can apply it to a stick figure animation. I actually have a couple examples. So we have this basic animation of a stick guy punching. So it looks pretty not smooth because it's just popping between this frame to this frame to this frame. But I have the two versions of in-betweening. One version uses the easing method that I talked about, and the other version uses just a method where you just look at this frame, and just stick drawings in between them at random, or whatever you want. But if I play them, one of them looks a lot more jittery. This one looks a lot smoother, and the motion kind of eases a little bit more. It might be hard to tell, but I will show you the basic version of it by doing the in-betweens for this one. So if I take this one to this one, all I have to do is add another frame here, pressing F6. I'll turn on my onion skin, drag it out here, and then I will just I will use the skew tool and make it ever so slightly closer to the previous frame. And then I'll take these arms, By the way, I'm using object drawing to make it so that I can select different strokes. If you press J while you're using the brush tool, then this will turn on object drawing, and it'll make it so that each stroke is selectable. And otherwise, it would be like this, where you would end up selecting both of them at the same time, and you wouldn't be able to manipulate the arms separately, for example. So I can take just the arms, press Q, move the pivot point to the shoulder, and then move it up a tiny bit. And then this arm, to get closer to this pose, is going to be a little tricky, but I'm going to hold down Control, and then, oh gosh, it's weird. Oh, if I move the pivot point here and then hold Control, then, okay, that doesn't work either. I will just select this joint, hold Control, and then I can basically move the arm however I want, but I'm just going to move it a little bit, and then take the hand and then just arrow key it over there. So I have very slight movement here, and then I'll take this frame and I'll click and drag another frame behind it like this, and then I'll use the skew tool ever so slightly like that. Take the arms and move them a little bit more by rotating. Take this arm, move it just a tiny bit down, and then maybe take this leg and then skew it down just a tiny bit. Alright, so let me show you the result. Comparing, okay, let me just compare what it looked like before, just like that, and then we added 2 drawings, and now it looks like this. And we have the illusion of movement just with 2 extra drawings. I can click loop here. Oh shoot, what's happening? Oh yeah. I can click loop here and then, oh god. Yeah. So of course, it still kind of looks like he's popping, but it also looks like he's moving, but just very quickly. So if I want to just fill in these extra drawings, I could do that, but I'm not going to right now because I want to keep going with these minor in-betweens. So if I want to continue to do the in-between of these 2, then I would use the skew tool again. In fact, maybe I will even take this frame and copy it over here. So I can just hold down Alt and drag it here, and then I have dun dun, and then I would like to copy this frame over here and then just make it a little bit closer to this frame. So I'll drag this out so I have reference, and then I will skew, and I will rotate this arm, and the leg, I feel like it's going to be not gradually planting, so I'm going to leave it there because I want it to just pound down really quickly. So I think that might be enough. So I'll click my loop tool and then just play it. Yep. Yeah. So then I will do these in-betweens from here to here. So for this one, I might actually give it a little bit of an overshoot, and to do that, all I have to do is copy this frame 2 over, like this, so I have a duplicate of this frame, then I go in between it, press F6, and then just slightly nudge it this way. This way I get a little bit of an overshoot, like that. Dum, dum, dum. So now I just take this frame, let's see, yeah, and I just move it ever so slightly closer to this frame with the skew tool. And I think that might be enough to just give the suggestion of movement. Now, this looks a little weird, but with a few more in-betweens, it will look great. So let's just take, maybe I will edit the length a little bit so it's easier to in-between. If you have an odd number of frames in between it, then it makes it easier because you can go right in between. So we have 3 frames in here, and if I click F7 and F7, we have a direct in between. So to go in between these two, I would just take my brush and draw it. And I might give some drag on that foot by doing, instead of this, it'd be like this. And then his arm would be like that, and his other arm would be like that, and then I'd give him a fist. And then for this one, since there's only 2, it makes it a little harder. So just for easiness sake, I'm going to add another one so that I can do the direct in between. So I'm just drawing in between. And just to make it look smoother, since his foot isn't really moving the whole time, I'm going to copy this foot and add it here, and then move it a little bit so it looks closer to this foot. Yeah. And I'm going to take his foot like that, take his arm like that, and take his other arm like that. And maybe I will zoom in and give him some fingers that are becoming a fist. And then make his other fingers become a fist. And do this last in between. I might make his face or head a little bit long because it's stretching from motion. And once again, I will take the previous foot and copy it and paste it in place with Control-Shift-V, and then maybe skew it a little bit so that it looks closer to this foot. Alright, where was I? And then I add his arm. Since his arm is going from behind to forward, it's going to just cross like that. Maybe like this. And his other arm is going from this to this, so simple cross. Alright, so I do not know what this is going to look like, but I will play it. Looks like we forgot the foot here. So I'm going to actually take this leg, copy it, and then paste it, and then select this leg, press down Control, and then skew it like that. Not skew it, distort it. So there we go. And so yeah, I hope that made sense. I just want to emphasize that you need the very slight movement to make things look real. Slight. I think when there's a movement like this, like from this, it should be more smooth from here to here instead of kind of slowing down in between it. So I realize right now in the middle of my tutorial that I should change this. I'm going to delete this frame, press Shift F6 to clear the keyframe, and then move this so that it's shorter, and we'll see if that looks any better. It does. So yeah, I think since there's a mix between 1s and 2s, that it might look better if I just made all of these 2s. So I'm going to press F5 here, F5 here, F5 here, F5 here, here, and here, and then see how that looks. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay, so that is a basic lesson on fluid movement. To recap, you have to add slight movement at the beginning, slight movement at the end of any movement to make it convincing. Otherwise, if it's linear like this, it is going to look unrealistic. So that is all for today. Thank you for listening, and I will see you guys later.